Afrika Mayibuye movement leader Floyd Shivambu says the party will seek to win an outright majority in next year's local government elections. The party recently concluded its first national convention this weekend, with delegates adopting the founding documents, policies and commission reports. Shivambu says the party is positioning itself as a new liberation movement and will seek to win an outright majority in next year's local government elections. Floyd Shivambu joins us now in studio on Face the Nation. Mr. Shivambu, thank you so much for making time. Good evening.
No, good evening, and good evening to viewers of SABC, and thank you to SABC for stopping that meaningless speech by Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa to come to speak to the leadership of Mayibuye.
Let's start with this important gathering that you have, the first national convention. How did it go, and how important was it in getting the movement to get ready for next year's elections?
No, look, we convened a national convention from the 5th to the 7th of December. So that was after the massive consultation process which began on the 19th of June this year to listen to the people of South Africa. And after the consultations, we had drafted the documents and listened to the mandate of the people to register a political party which exists as a movement and as part of the movement, the Afrika Mayibuye movement. And then we got to convene leadership structures from all the 205 sub-regions or municipalities of South Africa and from all the 53 districts of South Africa to then frame a common framework and policy posture of Afrika Mayibuye movement. So we had a very productive engagement where we got to affirm the Restoration Manifesto, which is our founding document, but also to adopt a constitution which is going to be the guiding document organizationally of the political party, but also to take a policy posture in terms of what are the issues that we should prioritize. And we had a very successful engagement. It was one of the most fulfilling and wide covering national conferences attended and anchored by traditional leaders and religious leaders and various other sectors, by the youth, by women's structure, by students, and everyone who got to participate. So we now have a fully fledged organization that exists in all corners of South Africa. And then, of course, we're going to ground it in all the voting districts. There's 23,219 VDs in South Africa. So we're going to launch VD-based branches in all the VDs. And then we'll get to work. And our branches are not just electoral instruments. Our branches become instruments for social transformation, for social assistance in our communities, for responding to some of the immediate challenges which our people are confronted with on a daily basis. That is why we do not narrowly align our composition of branches to the electoral demarcations that is done by the demarcation board. That is why even in institutions and workplaces, we will permit for the existence of branches of Afrika Mayibuye movement so that it becomes a true national liberation movement, because South Africa doesn't have a liberation movement. It used to exist, it mutated into something else that is an antithesis to liberation, because the former liberation movement that is in office now has failed to deliver in all its promises. Even the Freedom Charter, which we're talking about today, they failed to deliver in all of them. Because that Freedom Charter says that the mineral wealth beneath the soil, the banks and monopoly industries shall be transferred to the ownership of the people as a whole. And there is no such. It says the doors of learning and culture shall be opened for all. There is no such, because access to education is still prohibited by very high fees and unfavorable learning and teaching environments. That Freedom Charter says that there shall be security, comfort and houses for all. But you've got more than 15 million South Africans who still stay in peri-urban, unrecognized, the so-called informal settlements. So if you were to go in many parts of the periphery of all the cities, you still find the mushrooming of informal settlements. And even the manner in which government tried to intervene through the RDP houses, it's as if they are refugee camps which do not have a value. Even the valuations that are being placed on them it's not a reflection of reality, because this liberation movement is filled. Therefore, there's a liberation movement, Afrika Mayibuye movement, which will bring about true freedom.
You spoke about workplaces as well. What shape is that going to form? Like, would it be members of Afrika Mayibuye who are part of some kind of structures in the workplace?
So, like, there are so many South Africans who spend majority of their day work and activities in hospitals as nurses or in institutions of higher learning, as workers who are in the support services, in huge mines, in huge factories, and will never ever have space to could participate consistently in a political party. So we're then going to constitute units of Afrika Mayibuye movement in the workplaces, which will of course speak about the politics of Afrika Mayibuye, to say that how do we support this, because there's always space. Unions do exist in workplaces. We're going to constitute a political party to say that how do we advance the aspirations and interests of Afrika Mayibuye movement in society, because if we believe that we're just going to get people in communities and exclude workers, we will not be a true representative of the people of South Africa. That is why we permissibly are going to allow branches to exist in workplaces and other institutions that are important in South Africa.
What is the movement's position on coalition governments? You've indicated that you contest elections to win, but in an event that you don't, given how the political trajectory is going now, do you see the possibility of getting into a coalition with the EFF or the MK party?
Look, we don't have those postulations yet. Actually, like, we are placing and putting in place a machinery that is going to be able to speak to all the voters, and including those that are not on the voters' roll. Because in South Africa, you have got more than 42 million adults who are above the age of 18 who are eligible to vote, but only 16 million people voted in 2024. We are going to put a machinery on the ground to speak to all the voters, those that are not registered, those that are registered, to vote for Afrika Mayibuye movement. And if we do not get an overwhelming mandate, we will, with utmost humility, engage with reasonable political formations that carry the interests and aspirations of the people at heart, to say, how do we constitute a stable government? And those governments must be constituted on the basis and foundation of anti-corruption, of prioritization of the people of South Africa, of constant engagement with the people. Because what happens, these people shall govern phenomenon which is being celebrated now. It's not a reality on the ground. There's only space where people are so-called governing is when they vote. After voting, they're not given space consistently to determine as to what is the agenda and how to move forward. And we discovered during the consultation process that our people know what is to be done, and they have got solutions to the problems that they're confronted with on the ground. That is why we say that whoever is going to talk to us must be willing to go to the ground on a constant basis to say, what do we do to the crisis of water? What do we prioritize in terms of maintenance of infrastructure? Because majority, if not all municipalities, have got the perennial incapacity to maintain public infrastructure. So if you want to see that something is owned by government, you see by its dilapidation, you see by grass that is not kept, you see by broken windows, you see by falling ceilings, even in hospitals, ceilings falling on top of people. So there has to be a commitment to prioritization of our people. And if the political parties that we interact with are inclined towards that position, we will easily and gladly constitute a responsible, responsive, and accountable, corrupt-free government, which will respond to the aspirations of the people. But currently, majority of the political parties are in pursuit of something else other than development and upliftment of the lives of our people.
Speaking of political parties, one of the things that you said at the convention, which is, as you have seen, has gotten a lot of people talking, is that you used to witness in some political parties where it was an official item on the agenda that we have to discuss how we're going to steal government money. Are you talking about the EFF and the MK party?
No, look, let me tell you something and have to clarify that much more firmly. So the genesis of that remark and statement, which I said that all the existing political parties, I actually even emphasized literally all the political parties, they want to protect the tender system because they view it as a basis to raise revenue for electoral purposes. All the political parties, literally all the political parties that are represented in parliament and they are in government,